I like getting bumped around on the trail, but no, I mean,
I like getting smacked around just a little bit. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bikes and Bourbon, where we always pronounce things correctly. I'm Russ from the Path Less Pedaled.
I am Topher from the Bike Path. I almost went with I am Topher, just to like
Topher.
Yeah, just to like I don't, but Topher.
So today we're going to talk a lot about gravel events, when one would want a gravel bike versus a mountain bike, and semantics and stuff about gravel.
Yep.
And supple stuff. And we're also gonna drink bourbon. This is another gift bourbon from Laura. Does she get another? I mean, I guess, yeah, I should. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Laura, you are queen of the bourbon.
Again, she brought back another. This one is.
This one's got a key.
It's gamified, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called when you do something like this key thing.
Yeah, so the bourbon is blade and bow, and there are 5 expressions, and each one has a different key. And if you get all 5 and get all 5 keys, you can go to the distillery and then, I don't know,
There's
a pot of gold or something.
there's a room.
Someone should do that with bikes. Like if you get like 5 bikes from a
Like, so, like if you have like all like if you have like 5 different Surleys,
Right.
you can go to Minneapolis and
Right. And it turns into like Surly Voltron.
yeah. Like, this one is number 4.
Right.
If people are keeping track at home, it's interesting. Like they're different. It's like different ages and different barrels that they're aging them in. And so this is a American white oak barrels.
So pretty straightforward, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
No, like, you didn't like finish it in like a wine cask or something. So on the nose, I get a lot of like caramel, vanilla.
It's really nice and like smooth. Has a smooth feel to it. Some of the flavors, like
I think it's pretty woody too. It's not like super sweet, which is nice.
No.
I don't get the same incense smoke like from the other one, but there is like a woody characteristic to it.
it's weird.
It's good. Like I mean, it's a good solid drinker. If you guys can find this, I think this might have like limited distribution. But so speaking of gravel stuffs, the gravel world, the mother of all gravel events is kicking off this weekend. Trans Iowa, which is a self-supported gravel style event, which was a lot of people credit to kind of birthing lots of other events like DK and Land Run and all that stuff.
Yeah, you have kind of some direct, almost like direct lineage coming off of Trans Iowa, where I think Dirty Kansas kind of, especially being like a longer, like a 200-mile thing, it's kind of like inspired by Trans Iowa being Trans Iowa.
Yeah.
And then I rode Almanzo a couple of times, and I remember just people, like Trans Iowa was always one of those, like, like kind of one of those things, that was tossed around, and I think a lot of people were kind of, it's just...
I think one thing that's interesting about Trans Iowa is that whereas events like Dirty Kansas and Land Run are generally more produced, you know, there's like a festival atmosphere and everything. Trans Iowa is still pretty low key and like grassroots, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember we actually interviewed Guitar Ted who started it or runs it now, and he said that's deliberate, just to give people an option. You know?
Yeah. It's interesting to think about where it's come, because I mean it's such a. Do you know the mileage?
I think it's over 300 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's long.
It's a nice chunk.
Yeah.
Nice chunk of mileage there, and it's interesting because obviously that's like a multi-day event. That I was thinking more, like especially listening to the PLP talks with Bobby, where he was talking about the multi-day thing, because like I guess you also have, we didn't talk about it in the little intro there, but Grinduro is kind of one of those other things where it's like, but that's more of like the stagey version, where Trans Iowa is like a one-shot type. I mean, it takes multiple days, but you don't have stages.
Yeah, you don't like sleep overnight and like restart the next day.
Right, it's just kind of at your own pace and however quickly you are trying to do it.
I interviewed Nick Legan. That interview's not yet up, but he wrote the book. He wrote the book on gravel cycling.
Literally,
but,
literally.
It's somewhere.
It's here.
Trust us.
It's in the compound.
But I asked him like, what are some of the events or trends in events, and he said, multi-day format. So I think like our Rebecca's Private Idaho is turning into like a multi-day stage race.
Yeah.
And even like Dirty Kansas this year, they're launching DKXL, so 350 miles or 300. I don't know, a lot more miles than 200.
Yeah.
And people are starting like a day early, invitation only. So I think like there's definitely, once you have a gravel event that has solid following, to kind of keep it new and fresh, you add more mileage and more days.
Yeah. Like I think it would be fun to do a multi-day event that you had like 40 or 50 miles each day, different gravel, different like a loop from a place.
Right.
And it was like stagey, but then like that 40 to 50 would maybe make it a little bit faster pace. Or if you weren't used to riding gravel, it also wouldn't be like a huge commitment for you, but putting 2 or 3 like 50 days, like 50 mile days back to back.
Right.
I think it'd be a fun challenge because like the racers could race hard each day.
Right.
And like that could kind of be a challenge for them.
Right.
But then also people who aren't used to it could have the vibe of just like cruising on gravel that's supported or semi-supported.
Yeah.
Or maybe not, because after like 40 to 50 miles, like that's pretty easy to pack for.
Yeah. But it's kind of like we got a chance to do the Ramble Ride, and it's kind of a similar format. It wasn't like one destination where you do loops, but you're moving.
Kind of moving, but they like move.
They moved the camp kitchen and the beer, but you still have to carry all your camping stuff, and those were actually challenging days.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of climbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but then like, that's kind of nice because once again, you know that when you get to the end,
there's beer,
and there's like you don't have to do anything. Like, You're at your campsite. You can just kind of like relax and chill out and.
Yeah, and I think that like Ramble Ride's an interesting event. I hope that there are more like that because it kind of, you still have that feeling of self-sufficiency from bike packing, but some of the creature comforts.
It's like nice because also they're not like USA Cycling.
Right.
I mean, which is like that's an infrastructure that can exist and can support a certain type of cycling, but it's also fun to
have
kind of like racy things that aren't necessarily racy, and that if you don't want to like race, you don't have to.
Right.
You can like kind of just enjoy having somebody pick out a route for you and go ride it, and if you want to race it, you can.
Yeah. Do you ever go to any of the New Belgium Fat Tire festivals, like when they come to a town? And
I have not been to one, no.
Because they used to do this. I think they might still do this.
Yeah, I think so.
But for like a day, they just created like this cool bikey festival space, and there were rides. So it's like that, but with a little bit more, not like performance oriented, but like it was more than just like a casual ride. But you were amongst your tribe of bike nerdy folks.
Right.
And
it feels like that. I wonder if that comes from New Belgium being in Colorado.
Probably,
and there being some mountain bike, but also some roadie stuff, and it kind of, once again, like the melding of those worlds of like different people being able to come together. They want to like be casual sometimes. Yeah. They also want to, I don't know. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a hard niche to serve well because like it's easy. You know what racers want. And you know what, like the super casual cyclists
racers want to just
want to race.
They want to race.
But like
many watts.
But that gray zone of where, maybe you're not like a competitive like cyclist, but you like to ride fast or fast for you. Definitely faster than like at like a parade pace.
Right.
But like that gradation's so big, it's hard to create an event that kind of serves those people.
Yeah, but that's what's nice about gravel is that you're not necessarily always like closing off like major roads. It's not like it's like a marathon through your town,
right?
Where like you're having to like, okay, well the last person will be done with this intersection at this time, and so we can kind of like move, open back up the race course.
Yeah,
it's on gravel roads, and a lot of them are open. You never they never close roads for not usually.
Yeah, let's see. Let's jump into a comment. This will be a good segue.
We got some good comments this week here.
So Matt Mason, referring to our last episode, said it's the golden age of cycling products. The golden age of cycling was long ago before cars, and a lot of people echoed that sentiment, and I can see where that's true. We do have great choice, but at the same time, it's like we're biking with cars.
Yeah.
Cyclists and cycling, we're always seen as like scofflaws. Like even historically, they're referred to as scorchers and people that would ride too fast and scare the livestock and everything. So it's like we never win. Okay, Matt Reynolds. He writes, wait, can I still live the supple life with 700 by 38 compass? Or is the supple life for the 650B club only?
It's not I don't think it's a 650B club.
It's not. I mean,
No.
if you've got compass tires, those by default tend to be pretty supple. But I love that Venture Cyclist responds right away. I think that's what it first meant, but recently Russ mentioned that it's more about the lifestyle of looking for more comfort in bikes and such. I think as long as you're exploring the road less traveled, you're living the supple life. So that's a good kind of tidy bow.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I agree with that. And I had a reason recently to get out a road bike.
What?
It's kind of, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like 700 by 28.
What?
But it had that extra light compass casing on it.
Okay,
And I was kind of
that's
like,
cool.
yeah, I was like, oh, I haven't done this, but I was like, oh, this is like decent. Like,
Yeah.
this is a nice, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice, and I think you can. I think, yeah, definitely what Venture Cyclist has to say is spot on there with the, I think definitely, if you want to get technical and scientific, 650B could help you.
There's a greater chance of suppleness.
But philosophically and kind of just general, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, yeah, it's not meant to be exclusive. We're trying to be,
I'm trying to be inclusive.
Yeah.
As long as you pronounce things correctly. So let's talk about like semantics around gravel.
yeah, okay.
So, you know, there's this idea, I made a video recently about 650B conversion. And to me, mentally, when I think
Did you read that article by Logan?
I did.
On bikepacking.com?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's another, yeah.
Yeah, when I
Russ has finger on the pulse here.
We released the video a day early. But like, okay, so 650B and 27.5, the same.
Same thing,
Like
right.
physically the same. But
Right.
but mentally, for me, like I think 650B stops at 650B by 48, like something like the switchback hill.
Okay.
Right? And then 27.5, you start to, like it
Wow.
changes from millimeters to inches all of a sudden. It gets all mountain bikey.
It does get all
You know,
mountain bikey.
27.1, 0.2, 0.3. I mean, I was looking through the WTB site, and they actually divide it the same way too.
Oh.
Yeah, like you can, their horizons are under their road, and then you look at the tire size, it says 650B, and then like the other stuff is like 27.5.
Yeah.
So I think there's like a, yes, they're,
Roadies and mountain bikers are
Right.
easily misled by
by nomenclature.
nomenclature.
So I mean, I think like because I got taken to task by saying, you know, if you do a 650B conversion, because in my head I was thinking 650B by 48 would be the largest, then you would kind of drop, you know, the bike and have pedal strike, and some people were like, well, you can go up to, you know,
Oh, sure.
2 and that's true. Like, but for someone, and I was like, yes, it is true. But for me, when I was making the video, I didn't know, I didn't realize I had a schism in my head where
Yes.
like, you know,
Sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
right.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So yeah, you can clearly go bigger. I mean, there's plus size tires, 3-inch
Right.
for 27.5.
Right.
I guess if you go to 3 inches, you've definitely broken through the 48
Yeah.
millimeter barrier. So I have a bike that can. Right now I have, because they're Panaracers. I think they're marketed as 650B by
50 or
50 or 48, 1.9 if
Okay.
you convert it.
yeah.
Nah.
To math.
But the bike I ride that on can hold up to like a 3-inch tire.
Yeah. What did you have?
And so
What did you have prior to 3-inch?
2 1/4.
2 1/4. Okay.
So I went from 2 1/4 to 1.9.
Okay.
Because I mainly ride this bike. Well, I ride this bike on roads to get to dirt and gravel.
Right.
So I wanted something that I could do
Right.
that on, that was easier. And there's a couple of times I've been kind of caught out on a road ride and just was like not.
Fast enough.
Well, because it's spring, and so some of the, sometimes like people are choosing routes, and you have to go with a more road-focused ride,
Right. Right.
while things dry out.
Yeah.
And so, but then even then, I was like, 1.9 is a lot. Like 1.9, just to like history lesson. That's like what mountain bikers used to race on. Like that used to be considered wide, right? I mean,
Right,
like
yeah.
that was like 1.9 was a
Big tire. Yeah.
yeah. But then I think even now though, like people race 1.9s, you know, like, I mean, I think that size tire is like a common like cross-country race tire, you know, because you don't want, I mean, when you're racing mountain bikes, you want to try to live in the aero lane. But it's like, it's weird though, because it's like the bike is kind of, I mean, it's like it's low trail. So I carry stuff on it a lot up front. It's kind of my, you know, overnight bike. If I go out. And I do that on, I don't know, so it's like weird because it's like, well, it's kind of a mountain bike because I can like fit these wide tires on it.
Right.
But but it's like a really comfortable, I don't think of it as a mountain bike.
Right. Did you notice a difference when you changed tires?
Yeah.
Like,
Well.
I mean, was it just in terms of like rolling speed, or did it change like how the front handled, or?
It didn't change how the front handled. It just changed, just the rolling speed. I mean, you'd think like sometimes maybe you're kind of like debating, like if I shave off 0.3 of an inch, you know, like is that really gonna, if I go from 2.25 to 1.9, like, come on. But it's a difference.
It's a lot because it's not only this way, it's all the way around.
It's all the way around. But then that got me thinking, because like we've been talking about, my mind when I think about routes has been going more towards not being on the road, wanting to kind of be able just to like explore, relatively new here, so trying to like wanting to just kind of see what's available around town. And there's just certain things though where like a true mountain bike, like one that even like, I mean, it's a hardtail, but there's squish on the front. That's nice. It's nice to have a mountain bike.
Right.
Like there are things where a mountain bike, it's not like it's not like tires are, I mean, obviously like they can help you with certain things, but there's some times where you like need a mountain bike. And
so what's for you, what's the dividing point between like, okay, I can do this on a gravel bike versus a mountain bike? Is it like a percentage of?
I think it's you would have to maybe know your terrain. I think like terrain would be a big one for me, because there's like a point like where if your trail is like rocky and you're just like, it's like nice to have a mountain bike. Like you can just handle, you can just, you have suspension that can handle those things. You can have like a 3-inch tire or something like that can like also help you. Distance, like I went up recently and did a bike overnight, and maybe if I was going like for fun, I would not have taken like the Page Street, which is the kind of more
drop bar bike.
But like, it's like, well, I want to pack more stuff. Kind of, that's like my glamping bike. Like I can just put lots of stuff on it, and so that trail is also one that people mountain bike on all the time, and it's understandable because there's like a lot of rocks. So I don't know, like if you're just going out for like an afternoon of having fun, like you might want to take your mountain bike, but like maybe there's like a fun verse
I mean, I think
function.
So I think this is where
like some trade-off there.
I think people well, let's talk about like bikes, like gravel semantics for a little bit. Like you know, first off, like any bike can be ridden on gravel. You know, like the first thing usually when we start talking about gravel bikes, it's like, well, every bike's a gravel bike.
Right.
You know, and
like if you go to gravel events, I mean, I remember riding like Almanzo. The first year I did it, I was really nervous. Like, what bike should I be riding? What tire size? And then you get there on the line, and there's like guys on road bikes, guys on kind of early. This is several years ago, so it's kind of like some early gravel, like mostly cyclocross type stuff. But then there's people on mountain bikes. You can ride gravel on anything.
So gravel, you know, like you can ride gravel on anything. But I do think like, you know, like when the industry says gravel bike, they have like something specific in mind. And it usually, I feel like, has drop bars. You know, so it's drop bar. It looks like a road bike. It's got clearance for wider tires, slacker geometry. Most have mounts for racks and fenders. So there is yes, you can ride any bike on gravel, but like in terms of what a gravel bike is now and like what's being sold, there's kind of a like specific format. And what's funny is like whenever I post a video about gravel bikes, I eat so much in the comments. Like a lot of them like, you know, make fun of the term, but then I'm like, if we can play this game all day, like what about like mountain bike terms? Like what the hell does enduro mean? Or like,
Right.
you know, isn't every mountain bike a trail bike? You know,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have mountain bikes, which is like a fully rigid Krampus.
Right.
And then you also have like full squish Niner. Mountain bike has this huge range.
It's bonkers to me. Like people will crap on the term, you know, gravel bike, but will completely be okay with like all the, you know, like nuanced, you know, terms with mountain biking and all the different bikes that encapsulates.
Right.
So it's good to have. I mean, I think.
Right. It's just like I mean, you have to like. I mean, it feels like you have to put some label on it.
Right.
Even though the label can be like all road, adventure, gravel bike, like whatever you want to call it. But you need kind of something to help distinguish what this thing is.
Right.
Because it is distinct from your typical road bike or you're maybe going into kind of like a cross-country mountain bike.
I think one thing that's interesting is like there's lots of, you know, with this new type of bike out, there's a bunch of like new tire development. And if you go online, it's interesting to see where different shops put gravel tires. You know, because do they put it in road, or do they put it in mountain bike, or do they put it in cross? I've seen like a couple websites now offer like adventure tires.
Adventure tires.
You know, so it's kind of fascinating. Like it's definitely like the wild west of bike product design, but even just like wrapping your head around like what goes where.
Right. And then you start to get into like tread pattern.
Right.
And like which one, you know, what beefier ones and a lot of compass are kind of smooth, and so some people might not like that for gravel.
Right.
Or they might not like extra like casing for gravel because you might end up cutting your sidewall. I mean, so there's lots of different, like weird things. Like I think mountain bikers are very much kind of like aware of like sidewall strength, because like you don't want to be like out there on a trail and you
like bust it open.
Yeah, like you can't get. Yeah.
That is interesting. Like Laura and I are preparing for Dirty Kansas, and so far I've been riding with the 50 millimeter Soma Cazaderos, which have a skin wall, sidewall. And I consider it supple. It's suppler. It's got an awesome tread. Like on like hard pack and on the road, there's no like buzz from the tread, like rolls like a road tire, but it has like pretty good grip on mixed terrain. So I love it. Like in all the training rides that we've been doing, I do have like this existential doubt of like, if I take it to like the Flint Hills, it's just gonna like explode.
Yeah, that's always, I feel like the gamble or whatever people are trying to do. And yeah, I feel like it's in some ways like compass, it's easier to live the supple life if you're on smoother gravel and you're not on like some get super technical.
Yeah. What's your current favorite gravel or mixed terrain tire?
So the tires I switched to. Okay. I'm really loving them.
So those are the Panaracer Gravel Kings.
Yeah,
and
SK.
They're like a 50 or 1.9?
Yeah, 1.9. That's like I like that. I was on Schwalbe Thunderbirds before that, and that had kind of a similar tread pattern.
Yeah.
But then I don't think Schwalbe makes that like any more narrow, or like it. I was really splitting hairs at a point where I was like, I want 1.9.
No, I totally get it. Like on the Cutthroat, like it ships with a 2.25 Maxxis icons.
Yeah. Which
I thought was like a little bit too fat of the meats for gravel roads.
Yeah.
I mean, you just felt it like really kind of slow and sluggish. So then I changed it to 40 millimeter Gravel Kings.
Yeah.
Which then I felt was like, this looked weird.
Right, yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I gotta find the 50 millimeter tire, just, not just for aesthetics, but for, overall suppleness.
Right.
And the Cazaderos,
they fit.
They look good, they ride well. Super stoked on them.
Yeah.
If you have a bike that can fit them.
As much as gravel bikes can handle a bunch of stuff, and you can, once again, you can mountain bike on a gravel bike too, probably.
Right.
Underbiking is I think a popular pastime for both of us recently.
Yeah. I think underbiking, the concept, people are still discovering it.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, like when I post a video about gravel bikes, someone's like, well, you should just get a full suspension mountain bike. I was like, well, that's not the point. My end goal isn't like ultimate like magic carpet ride like comfort.
Right.
It's a balance between speed, kind of like a little bit of uncertainty and rowdiness that makes it kind of interesting and fun.
Right, fun, yeah.
You know?
There's always like that weird thing where you're like, I like getting bumped around on the trail. But no, I mean,
like getting smacked around just a little bit.
There's like a technical aspect of riding a bike that's fun to like not be able to just like count on all the suspension to smooth it all out. And so that's the other thing. Like, whenever people say like, oh, these gravel bikes are kind of just mountain bikes with drop bars, or it's like not. Not really, because like.
The handling's different.
The handling is different. I mean, that's the thing, is like you start to get into, also once again, all the head tube angles and stuff where you're talking about slack. So yeah, it's an interesting thing where, and then also once again, like with many things in bikes, like 1 degree, 2 degrees can make a big difference. And so when people like look at a bike, I'm just kind of staring now at
the cutthroat.
I always find whenever we can't put a bike there anymore.
That's true. We should. I wish we could put one behind us.
Because I'm just like, I always feel like I'm just like, oh, that bike, that's nice.
Yeah. The nuances, make a difference. I mean, it's easy. If you're like entrenched into a particular biking you like to do, or if you're completely new to bikes, to kind of just write it all off as, that just looks the same. But I mean, I've had the chance, through the channel and everything to ride like a lot of bikes.
Right.
So I get really keyed into like the differences, kind of like what we're doing with the bourbon as well.
Right, yeah.
If you only drank like one bourbon your entire life, then you'd be like, well, that's just, a bourbon, But like, after having a chance to sample many, then you can see like there's, within the category of bourbon, there's different ways it gets expressed.
Right, yeah.
You have preferences for some over the
Which is why things like the Midnight Special from Surly get kind of like confuse people at first.
Yeah.
And like they're kind of this like, wait, what's that?
You're like, that's not a bourbon. But that's why.
You have to kind of be like, oh, it's just a fat tire. It's like, well, yeah, it's a fat tire road bike, which might not make it like the best for some types of gravel or like some off-road stuff. Though if you're like comfortable handling a bike on mixed terrain, it might actually be really fun for you. Yeah. But it's like, because you just see like, oh, it's fat tires, it's Surly, it must be like an off-road bike. And it's like, oh, actually no, it's the geometry is designed around kind of more roady stuff. And so that's always, it's just we want to.
I think the Midnight Special is probably like the most interesting bike I've had a chance to throw a leg over recently. I mean, like if it were a bourbon, it would be like a smoky bourbon. Like it would be like, it would have like the bourbon notes, but then it would have like some other like flavors coming out left field, and you're like, whoa, what's going on?
Right. Yeah. And
those are kind of like the bikes I'm drawn to now. Like, I've got like a solid staple of, okay, this is a road bike, this is a touring bike. I want something that's like strange and confusing and sometimes not predictable, just to make it interesting.
Right.
That's why I'm like,
you want unpredictable handling? Is that it? Like just kind of like a slightly loose headset.
What?
Just so that you don't know.
Yeah, I could do that on purpose.
You don't know what's going to happen at any given moment.
But it's like when you ride a road bike, you ride it and you're like, yeah, it rides like what a road bike should be like. Or like a touring bike. It rides just like a touring bike. I want something that's like, kind of like surprisingly quick in the rear, but maybe like also slightly unbalanced in the front, a little bit more slack. Some people might consider it a mistake, but it would actually make for an interesting ride.
It's a feature, not a bug type situation. Yeah,
it probably wouldn't make like the best like first bike for someone, but after you've had like many bikes and like, have like a sense of like what different bikes ride.
But also, I mean, that's why there's N+1, because like I said earlier, I got out my road bike. It was kind of like off in the corner of the garage, and it wasn't really. No attention had been paid to it for
you had to dust it off.
Quite some time. And I picked it up, and it was like the lightest.
It's like, where's the rest of it?
Yeah, like it's like, wait, is this like everything is on here? Like I think maybe.
Do you want to read that?
I think Joshua's comment here. Yeah, I can read. I got this.
I put the phonetics out there.
Yeah. Yes. As much as I love my 650B wheels and off-road riding, and the proliferation of the gravel bike in general, he has put scare quotes around gravel.
I think everyone does though. It seems to be like the default thing.
We all, as we all type it, we're always like, gravel. I have to bring up the fact that not everyone has the easy access to the endless gravel miles of chill, gravelly, car-free roads that is so plentiful in the West and Midwest.
That's true.
Having lived in many states where there are a lot of B roads and now in a state with practically none, I realize what a luxury this kind of riding is. This also affects the biking culture of a place in the sense that when everything is paved over, even rural country roads, only road riders and triathletes tend to thrive, leaving little space for the type of rider riding that you guys talk about. Love the show and the conversations.
I agree. Like
yeah.
I do feel like, you know, the kind of riding you have, the terrain that you have will dictate the type of cycling if that's, you know, plentiful.
Yeah.
You know, so clearly you're not going to have mountain biking where there's not mountain bike trails. And if, you
Well,
know.
yeah, I mean, like, I grew up in East Tennessee, and I say that as fast as possible.
What was that?
Where did I grow up?
I'm going to play that back in slow motion. It'll be like, East Tennessee.
Yeah, but that is, I mean, from my experience, those rural country roads are often paved, and they're often paved with no shoulder. And so, yeah, like if you want to go out for like a road ride, you have to be a pretty confident rider. You have to be like, okay, kind of holding your own. And I think, I mean, once again, that's like historical use. Like the roads that like out west that people ride on are often like, you know, some type of logging or Forest Service road. And so they're like, some logging company like made the road as far as they needed it to go.
Right.
And then when they were done with like their operation up there, they just left. And so there's this road that looks really cool, but then you're like disappointed that it kind of just ends.
Right.
And same thing, like in the South, you know, there's a lot of roads that were just like people's, like around, you know, like weeding people's farms, connecting them together.
Right.
And so you would, I mean, they basically were like, oh, let's pave that. Like, and so there wasn't a lot of like extra room because there was already established like
stuff growing.
Like, you know, maybe a farm. Or, so you're like, oh, well, we just have this paved narrow stretch. And so, once again, so it's that historic usage that kind of comes into play. And out west, we're kind of, Midwest, we're fortunate because also in the Midwest, it's a little bit more. You have the like, huge farms and they have grids. And so like you can kind of connect things. And that's why I think that type of riding is so plentiful. It's because there's just tons of like random.
There's this website, I think it's called like iowagravelroads.com or something, but literally shows all the gravel roads in Iowa, and it's like almost like a perfect grid throughout the state. So you could like traverse the state multiple ways, permutations without ever getting on the paved road. It's pretty crazy. You know, again, I think it's not a trend that's gonna be here to stay. You know, people are still discovering it. You know, via the comments, that's what we're realizing.
Yeah.
I think, you know, it's still. Like, especially over, like in Europe, people are you know, like there's another YouTube channel, GCN, and I've noticed that they're starting to talk about more gravel stuff, and they're still figuring it out on their end of the pond. I think between like gravel and bike packing, I'm gonna say that gravel is gonna be a lot more accessible to more people, you know, just because of time commitment.
Right.
So one may be a gateway to the other, but in terms of the one that you'll be able to do more frequently, I think gravel is going to be it. I mean, it is for me.
And it's interesting because it's like, I mean, some of that gravel stuff and like what, you wonder if, you know, that's, it's like almost like the early days of mountain biking where people were like, oh, like, we kind of do this and we're not maybe supposed to, or it's not like, or there's like, we don't know. Like, I mean, once again, like we were just talking about like the logging roads where it's like, can I ride on this? Like, should I? Where does this connect?
Cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Till next time.
Keep the supple side down.
Cheers.